Are we cooking with gas? Yeah. Someday I'll remember to adjust that before I start. Welcome to the stream. Hi, it's me, Mike, a writer who will be writing on the stream. Yeah. I think I'm coming down with a cold. I hope it's a cold and not the other thing, but a bit stuffy and blah again today. And I have some voice work to do this afternoon, so hopefully the old pipes will hold up. So, where were we yesterday? Um, hmm. Right. So I had Frank talking to his colleague about getting information. His colleague was most unhelpful. And of course, as soon as I went there, I started thinking maybe this colleague isn't quite so collegial as he appears. Maybe he's like a secondary antagonist. Mwahahaha. But I think maybe we need some smaller stakes as well as the bigger stakes. Yeah, that's... Could work that in a little bit. A question then I have to answer is, do I just work it in organically as I write stuff? Because I'm probably going to forget to do it if I do that. Or do I plan out how to add that in? Well, and this is meant to be a writing stream, not a planning stream. I don't think anyone wants to really, nobody wants to watch me sitting here thinking about stuff. One thing I do need to adjust. I'm going to have to get some background information on this dust stuff in here. I think I'm going to... Before I forget, if you were looking at the my schedule on Twitch, you'll notice that I don't know that anyone's paying attention to my schedule on Twitch, but just in case, I changed the scheduled stream time from 2 hours to 1 hour, effectively. I may go a bit longer. We'll see how the words are coming, but I haven't been getting as much of my other stuff done this week as I need to, and while I would like to successfully complete Nano, I have obligations that need to be met. Work that needs to be done for clients and work that needs to be done for myself as a client. That isn't really getting done. My client work, my paid client work is all getting done. It always gets done one way or another. But yeah, so I'm going to reduce my stream times. Let's see what happens. All right. Wood. Promotion. This is why I always do this. I go to fix a sentence, then I ruin the paragraph. I get lost halfway through. Pardon me. Okay, this is spinal. Okay. Why is that? Not meant to be one word. Very strange. All right. Lord of information. You could be a bit touchy if you thought someone was interfering. Yes, okay. I'll leave it for now. All right. We've stabilized the sentence. It will survive. All right. Need to shave. Getting itchy. This is the part that needs to... Hmm. Hmm. Oh, hello, somebody has arrived. Hi. Other areas. Hey, it's Bobicus. I thought it might be Bobicus. Hello, hello. 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 Not sure how I would pronounce that. I get Cthulhu-y kind of vibes out of that. A lot of back throat gargling in there. Hello. You've arrived just as I'm attempting to fix some things that I broke yesterday. I created this David character as a source of information within the police department, and then made him very uncooperative for some reason. And now I think he might be a minor antagonist, secondary bad guy, something like that. Because I kind of need one of them, if I'm honest. Need to complexicate my storyline. Okay. Take that out. Oop. Hmm. There we go. Oh, no, you didn't mention that. You figured out the climactic part of the book that's near the end. Yeah, that's um remind me to come back to the climax thing, because that's something Yeah. What is your? How do you figure what's going on? What's the what's the juicy juice? Wrong punctuation mark. A bunch of stuff happening at once. Are there explosions? I do hope there are explosions. Mm, I don't think it's showing up or showing coming through on the microphone. I've got my noise reduction set pretty accurately, but I think it's my upstairs neighbor. It could be my downstairs neighbor, really, with the way the walls work in this building. But someone's banging stuff in their kitchen. I hope it's in their kitchen, chopping or something, and it's kind of annoying me. Threading things to. Oh, two viewers. I wonder who else is here today. If you're a new person, pop into the chat and say hi. If you're not a new person, hi. Pop in the chat. That's well. It's good to hear that you've got enough different things going on in your book that you had to thread them together. Hey. Oh, dude. Now I got it. Speaking of hard to pronounce things. Hi. Give me a sec. Let me see. The Kizichu. Xichu. Xichu. Xichu? Am I saying that right? Do you even know how to say that? Did you just throw some random consonants together to confuse people? Did you? Hello, hello. Anyway, welcome to the gang, the group. Um, what were we talking about? Ah, yes, right. Endings, climactic pivot points and stuff. I happened upon a few years back. Oh, hello. Oh, that was a big one. She gets her blood stolen. Uh, oh, okay. So not insomnia, but yeah, Running Man. All right. Um, oh, is there a way to phoneticize it? There's got to be a silent set of consonants in there somewhere. I mean, I'm getting like Serbian, Eastern European vibes off of that KSZY. Is it is it spelled KSZY but it's pronounced Pika? That would be fun. It's like I don't. None of you are probably old enough to remember, but back in the '80s and '90s, there was a soul jazz, new wavy kind of vocalist called Sade, but it was spelled Sade. Sade. I think David Spade had a whole little stand up bit on that. Oh, so now I really need to figure out how to pronounce this name. KSZY. I am going to Google you. Haha. ZY. So, pronunciation. No, I've seen. So is it Greek? Hmm. Let's find out if this is a real person or an automated. No, that's a machine pronunciation. I hate that. Right. IPA. I've been teaching English as a second language for damn near 20 years. I still haven't bothered with IPA. I probably should, but uh, I'll just look it up. Boo. Kayas? Is it Kayas? I'm seeing Polish. I'm seeing Greek. Hey, silent author. Well, Polish. Yeah, I figured Eastern Europe, somewhere in that neck of the woods. We've got 3 folks in the chat. Amazing. Silent author, Bobicus, and to be determined. Polish. I am pronunciation. Sash? No, that's what it means. That's the translation. I'll try Forvo. Meh. Greek. Yeah, whatever. Cookies. There's an A in the Polish, though. There's no A in yours. There's an A in... Oh, it's showing up. All right. Skash. Hey. Skashichu. Skash? Is it Skash? Skashichu. I mean, I really just want to say Kurzichu. But I'm nothing if not... Alright, I don't need these on anymore. Nothing if not stubborn. Skashichu. Orvo.com, which does allow people to upload pronunciations of words. The closest I can come... KSZYK. But there's no S. You got an R. Oh, that's Wiktionary. KRZY. But if you actually do love when people butcher it, I might just go with Kurzichu until I'm told differently. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the chat either way. Are you a writer? Do you do the writing? I know Silent Author is a writer, and Bobicus is a writer, and I play a writer on Twitch. Chris, okay. Chrissy Chu. Chris it is. Well, now that I know that, uh, oh, there we go. Now I can get there because I can look up the whole. Listen to the pronunciation of Kurzysstoff. I feel terrible saying it like that. All right. Krzysztof. Krish. Krish. So it's Krishichu. Krishichu. Unfulfilled one. That sounds. That sounds like the beginnings of a primary antagonist. We have to listen to that again. I've got a decent ear for languages and pronunciations. Krish. Krzysztof. There's not quite so much, not so much trill in the R. Krzysztof. Just a very little bit of trill. Krzysichu. I'm not sure what to do with the chu in Polish, but. Ha. Okay. Krzysichu. There we go. Unfulfilled one sounds like the opening gambit in a new primary baddie guy. Are you a primary bad guy? Okay. So basically what I do on the stream, silent authors, definitely. Silent but deadly. Yeah, I went there. Silent author often makes suggestions that I suspect are designed entirely to throw my story completely out of whack. Don't think I didn't notice that. So yeah, the stream for all the newcomers, all one of the newcomers. The stream is basically me trying to write well. I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I think you're trying to mislead me again. The stream is basically me trying to write well. These guys and gals and whoever, these folks try to distract me. No, I know some of it, well, possibly. I don't know. I saw a little devil emoji coming out yesterday or the day before that indicated to me that perhaps that particular suggestion was not provided in the best of faith. But what's my story about? Okay. Elevator pitch. Main character is a he's the illegitimate son of one of the most powerful people in the country. Setting is this is scattered. All right, so it's a faux Victorian parallel world with magic, kind of quasi London setup. Yeah, so I'm aiming for the feel of sort of a Victorian London kind of thing, but there's magic, and I don't hold myself to any particular accurate historical timeline. I make stuff up wherever I want, basically, but I want that feel of that sort of pre-industrial revolution. Leaning heavily into the scientific method and the Age of Reason kind of stuff that you get with like a Sherlock Holmes novel. The main character is the illegitimate son, recognized son of one of the nobility, but he's rejected his parentage and gone off on his own, blaming his noble father for the death in poverty of his unnoble mother. He's also since joined the police force, has a strong sense of justice and morality. What else? There is a creature monster kind of thing going on here. They're called moths. They're about 2.5 meters tall, have leathery wings. Here, I'll just checking my time there. Yeah, maybe I'll just... No, he's not Superman. You were saying he was Superman. Oh no, Bobicus was suggesting he was Superman. Oh no, he wasn't. Sorry, that was a conversation I had a few days ago while recording a podcast with my podcast partner when we were talking about my book for some reason. Kept trying to throw it into other universes. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will read to you. Well, you can just read this, actually. I'll find the parts. So, the opening prologue-y bit, which I know we're not supposed to do these days in a modern novel, but I'm having a prologue, so... Yeah. Young lady shows up in town. Can't get a coach, decides to walk. She can't get a coach because there are moths. Well, I figure I want to set the scene. I want to set the mood and establish a few things in the setting early on in a sort of tangential way, parenthetical way that isn't related directly to the main storyline. So that's what a prologue is for. Also, this is a short story I wrote a few years ago that led me into the idea for the novel. And rather than rewrite something or write something new, I just threw the short story in as a prologue. So this is where the highlighted bit is where the young woman encounters a moth. They aren't moth men. They're not men. They're not sentient. They can't think. They're just monsters, effectively. They produce and emit hallucinogenic pheromones, which they use to hunt people. Uh-huh. I shouldn't have encouraged you, huh? They use their hallucinogenic pheromones to hunt primarily people, although they'll eat anything they can get their hands on. They don't have hands. What they do have is, well, wings, sort of. They're flightless. Their wings aren't wings in the sense of, a bird or even a bat. They're leathery and gross, and they hang from these bony arm-like protrusions that they can extend. All right, so a sharp gust of wind from the mouth of a narrow alley almost dislodged her hat as she passed, startling her from her angry reverie. She paused to settle the offending accessory more firmly in place and check the street numbers in case she'd somehow accidentally passed her destination. Still 2 or 3 more blocks to go, she saw. Very well. She set off again, squinting against the breeze that had now picked up somewhat. She had taken only a few steps when she was brought up short again by the sight of a silhouette standing under a flickering gaslight a block ahead. Glancing around, she realized that this mysterious figure was the only other person she'd seen in some time. She debated whether to continue the way she'd been going or to detour a block or two out of the way to avoid the stranger, but decided that she was worrying over nothing. She was just about to continue walking when the person up ahead began to thicken. After a moment, she realized that what she had taken for a tall man with a tightly furled cloak was in actuality something with a tightly furled pair of what seemed to be wings. Wings which were now being extended to either side of the... Moths, she breathed. Shit. Detouring suddenly seemed like the much better option. And then she gets hallucinated and has a vision, and then when the wind shifts and she comes out of it, she finds that the moth has shuffled its way much, much closer to her. And this is our first clear description of the moth. It was mostly wings, this thing that must be what the locals called a moth. Its wings were about as wide across as they were tall, and it was a foot or two taller than the tallest man she'd ever seen. They were also wings that were never meant for flight. They were lumpy, fleshy things, grotesquely swollen in places, and thin enough in others to allow the scant moonlight to shine faintly through. Their edges were in tatters, fluttering in the wind like macabre bunting. They glistened wetly. The moth's body, or at least that part of it where the wings met, was a mass of... Writhing was the word that sprang into her mind. Writhing, wriggling tentacles. They cast about blindly as if seeking something that they couldn't quite sense, roiling around as if each was independent of the others and was possessed of a mind of its own. Several of the larger members ended in hard, sharp-looking pincers or beaks, which snapped randomly open and shut. So basically what they do is they sneak up on you while you're hallucinating and wrap you up in their wings and poke a bunch of holes in you and suck out all your juices. Yeah, they're not terribly dangerous, you wouldn't think. There aren't that many of them. They're not fast. As long as you're upwind of them, you're probably okay, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm not doing intelligent moth monster which is sentient. I've got other intelligent monsters in the story that'll come in later and are considerably more interesting. So anyway, these things are killing a bunch of people, and no one's taking them seriously. No one's treating it as a murder. But our main character, Detective Inspector Frank Berg, he's got the sneaking suspicion that there's more to these attacks than meets the eye. There's a bunch of stuff that just doesn't add up, and he thinks it might be a murder, might be murders, but he's been forbidden from opening an official investigation because there's no real evidence that there's any sentient being involvement, human or otherwise. Yeah, so that's basically it. They're not. They're called moths. They're not really moths. That's sort of a nickname people have given them because they're not butterflies. They're too ugly to be butterflies. I don't know where I came up with the name from. The story, the original short story, was a weird sort of restructuring of Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Match Girl. Actually, I had a little project I was working on for a while where I would randomly choose a fairy tale from a long list of fairy tales that I had put together, and then also randomly choose a style or genre of story from another list that I had put together, and then I would mash them up and rewrite the story completely from scratch, but with the same bones, the same sort of plot beats and structure as far as I could. The idea was to write a new story that nobody would connect with the original story, but once they were told, they'd be like, oh yeah, I can see it. So the original Hans Christian Andersen story involved little match girl freezing to death on the road, and she lights 3 matches and has 3 visions before she dies. A horrible story, terrible. It's meant to be morality. It's meant to be a morality play, but not my kind of morality. At the end of the story, she ascends to heaven, and therefore everything is okay. And the fact that all of these good Christian people passing her by on the street didn't do a thing to help her. that's okay, because, heaven. Um, so anyway, yeah, that's the origin story of my story. But um, Bobicus, you were talking about your climactic moment. I was going to say, a few years back, I happened upon a wonderful set of tools created, or at least distilled, by Larry Brooks. Make sure I get that right. Larry Brook. Larry Brooks, yeah. Uh, his his book on writing is called Story Engineering, and it lays out a very detailed, what's the word I want to use, structure. Yeah, Save the Cat is a different, similar thing. Much simpler, less flexible. Not really less flexible, but it's got fewer tools in it for me. Story engineering, it's a very, parts of it are very rigid. Like, the structural elements of the story are sort of non-negotiable in it, and it seems fairly accurate to me. Look, when I apply it to a number of other stories that other people have written, the more successful ones all seem to fit pretty nicely into that structural framework. But by he refers to the structural elements as tentpole elements. They're the ones that hold up the tent. Everything else is open to your own interpretation, but those tentpoles have to be there. So he divides it, rather than a 3-act structure, he uses a 4-act structure. A couple of pinch points, a couple of major plot element points, and a conclusion and a denouement. And yeah, I've found it to be a very useful tool for me when plotting out a story of almost any size, really. So when you're talking about the climax, or the end, or rather the climactic part near the end that isn't the end, yeah, it reminded me of that. Uh, Save the Cat writes a novel. Sort of, I guess, yeah. I forgot. Save the Cat is mostly for screenplays, right? Yeah. Um, hmm. Yeah, I found it quite useful. Story engineering and some of the other tools that he provides. I mean, he makes his living, I think, largely from, well, maybe not largely from. He's got a lot of books out as well, but oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I encountered the title fairly recently for the first time, and sort of looked it up to see what it was about. I haven't read it. Save the Cat, or apparently now there's a sequel I didn't know about. So Save the Cat writes a novel. I should probably take a look at it. I'm interested in general in different ways of getting from start to finish on a book, on a story. And I'm very interested in the ways that stories are put together, the ways that they're structured, the ways that they work, the ways that they often don't work. Um, my last 5 years of working, um, I was working as specifically as a writing teacher in a junior high school. It's a bit strange for a junior high to have a writing teacher, but there it is. So yeah, I was quite interested in how writing works, basically, and the myriad ways in which writing can work. So, hmm, concept and a theme. Hmm, I don't know that there is much. Well, okay. Concept would be sort of the view from space, as it were. Like, Um, like I refer to my novel that I'm writing as a faux Victorian fey detective novel. That's sort of the concept of the novel. That's the main key idea that I'm trying to accomplish by writing this story. A theme is just a recurrent idea that threads through the story, and generally plays an important part in some element of either plot or character, but not necessarily. So, for example, in the Sixth Sense, I'm assuming everyone's seen the Sixth Sense. There are a few themes in that one, like people not knowing that they're dead. That's a theme. The visual a visual theme in the movie is the use of the color red to sort of bookmark or flag an interaction with a ghost. Mm. Other themes might be themes are sort of big ideas that are dealt with in a story. Concept is the big idea that is it sort of describes what the story is. I mean, that's how I would use those terms. As I was saying yesterday, a big problem in the writerly circles is that we all use these words. We sort of make them our own and use these terms in our own ways, and then we don't have any sort of consistent underlying meaning to rely on for communication a lot of the time. So um, I would use, yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say concept is like world building per se. World building is a lot of detailed stuff, and concept is the overview, the biggest overview, I would say. And theme is more sort of subtextual ideas that are there but aren't necessarily dealt with directly. Concept, theme, character, plot, scene, instruction, and voice. Yeah. By construction, does he mean like sort of the technical elements of writing, um, grammar and punctuation and word choice, stuff like that? Um, Although voice has to do with some of that as well. Uh, yeah. So okay, so in that set of, if you're going to call those core competencies, then we're looking at them from a skills based perspective. Concept would be, yeah, what kind of story is this? What if you had to describe it in a sentence, how would you do that? That's sort of your concept. I assume by core competency he means focusing in on what the story is supposed to be and then not really losing sight of that. I think we've all sort of wandered off the garden trail while writing a story and got lost in the weeds off somewhere else, writing a completely different story than the one we set out to write. And sometimes that can lead to interesting places, but more often than not, it just makes for a messy story. Theme would be, well, I don't know if my views on this are orthodox or not, but some of the best themes in stories are the ones that weren't intended by the author, sort of unconscious or subconscious themes. I often go back through stories I wrote a while ago, and I recognize themes that I didn't put in there on purpose. They sort of arose naturally through the interactions of characters and through the interaction between character and setting and all of those little pieces moving around together, and whatever sort of was in the back of my mind while I was writing it, perhaps. Some of the strongest themes in fiction weren't intended by their writers. So yeah, well, I mean, a theme is quite a large, broad category of things. One of the themes in my story that I'm writing now is definitely one of I guess the power in truth, the power of knowledge would be a theme. Um, Secrets versus truth, sort of the desire to obfuscate the truth versus the desire to reveal the truth, the tension between revealing other people's truths and revealing your own truths. Yeah, yeah, but that's a like theme is what your story is illuminating about real life, sure, but that's a big bucket of worms there. That's a and they're not all the same kind of worm. There's probably a snake or two, maybe a dragon. Worm with a Y. Worm. The standard high school English class themes, man versus nature, man versus man, all that stuff. Those are themes as well. Murder most foul. When someone is killed by a chicken, send the fox. Now I've got sort of an adult, hard-boiled mystery novel with Roald Dahl's Mr. Fox as the protagonist. Wittgenstein's Beatles. Oh, 4 viewers. We've got another viewer. Say hi in the chat. Fourth viewer. I'm assuming that we're the other 3 viewers are Babaka Silent Author and Krisichu. Hope I remembered how to say that right. I have to keep repeating things to keep them in my old noggin. I'm getting older. Fair enough. We can say what we can't say, but we can't say it directly, is what I would say on the subject of theme. I never got into Wittgenstein. Um, yeah, I don't think I've ever read Wittgenstein at all. I have no idea what his stuff was. Um, I'm trying to think who I remember from the good old bad old long old days ago when I was doing philosophy classes. Uh, I remember Hegel. Who was it that had monads? Leibniz. Leibniz. I remember Leibniz. And of course, all of the intro to philosophy dudes, Descartes and yeah. Anyway, I remember Leibniz in particular because I enjoyed what he was trying to do with monads, trying to find sort of a prime element or a prime structure of reason, sort of intellectually modeling the atomic theory. Well, what is the color red like? Well, we can describe the color red in terms of frequency and wavelength, and we can describe it scientifically. What is it like qualitatively? Yeah, we can describe it. It can be described. Whether it can be described to a specific enough degree to satisfy Wittgenstein, I don't know, but yeah, well, I mean, as writers, this is the prime struggle, isn't it? Conveying experience through language. Um, this could be said of any tool in any discipline. A machinist sits down on a CNC lathe or a manual lathe, even worse, and machine's a tool. And the first question they need to answer is, what are the tolerances, right? How exact do you need this tool to be? And there's a never-ending fractal hole to dive down there, because if you keep going closer and closer and smaller at the atomic level, a machinist is creating a mountain range. But at the macro level, where we're looking, it's smooth as hell. You can never exactly describe or scribe anything with any tool. There's always more detail to be had, potentially. So, yeah, nothing terrible. I don't think there's anything terribly earth-shattering there, although I'm not sure when. I don't remember when he was working, when he was writing, so perhaps. I mean, that's the scientific method in a nutshell. We can never get there. We can only get closer and closer. We can never achieve the truth. We can never achieve exactness. That's why it's a scientific theory, and not a scientific. You'll never hear any scientist talking about scientific fact, because there's no such thing. Analytics are yeah, okay, so that makes sense then. So he's he's exploring, excuse me, that concept in other areas as well, other areas of human endeavor. I mean, it's pan-experiential. Ah, okay, okay. So that makes sense then. That makes sense. That fits in. I love, I do love that sort of the early Western exploration into the sort of what became the Age of Reason. That attempts to apply scientific method to things that had never been thought of that way before in a Western tradition. And I'm aware of the antecedents in other cultures. Um, so why Bobicus, bringing up interesting topics of conversation while I'm trying to write? How dare you? How dare you? Uh, anyway, I have no idea where I was in my story now. Mm, mm, how very dare you? uh, I changed my stream schedule from 2 hours to 1 hour, just because you folks are all distracting me horribly, and I need to actually get some writing done at some point. Uh, and here I am, past my hour. Oh well, I'll keep going. I am gonna try and remember what I was. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, I was showing you guys my moth. Um, I was also trying to fix this, talking to Dave. Good old Dave, who doesn't want to help. All right, so all I know about Wittgenstein is that he was a beery Schwein, who was just as sloshed as Schlegel. Uh, Immanuel Kant was a real pissant, who was very rarely stable. I digger was a boozy beggar. Probably get a copyright strike now. If I'm lucky, my singing will be unrecognizable to the original. Okay. I want to see how old the word network is. Okay, so it was used in the 19th century. Oh, as far back as the 17th century, actually. So I'm good to go. Network. I want to give him some sort of verbal pauses. I give him some character to his speech, but I don't want to overdo it. Uh, yeah. For a second, I read your comment out of the corner of my eye there, and I thought you said every chapter should be different. And now you're going to say that's a great idea, right? Yeah. Yeah, every character should be different. They should have their own voice. Huh. I have a tendency to overdo that sort of thing, though, when I start doing it. So I am trying to be careful not to overdo it, because that can get very distracting very quickly. I also tend to overdo if I decide to write a character in some sort of a dialect or an accent. I tend to overdo that as well. So that's something I'm aware of in my own writing that can be very off-putting, and pull people right out of the story. uh, I personally, what's worked for me in the past, I find that by paying a lot of attention to sort of the kinds of things or the sorts of things that a character might say or would say, the specific words a character would or wouldn't use, that can go a long way towards sort of individualizing their voices. I like to think of myself as reasonably good at dialogue. Sort of, I think of that as one of my strong points as a writer. But I'm not terribly happy with how my dialogue is coming in this first draft here. A lot of the dialogue is coming across to me as just me talking to me rather than my characters talking to each other. I don't have as clear an image or a clear an idea of my characters as I normally do yet. I'm trying something new this year. I'm trying to write more blindly, just sort of do a little bit more in the way of discovery writing and figure out my characters as I write, which I realize is going to involve a lot more editing down the road than I'm used to. But I've also never been able to finish writing a novel before, so maybe this will be my day. This will be my time. Hoofda. Yep. Hey, Kit Falbo, hi. Welcome to the chat. Yes, every character should have individual goals, full stop. Each character is the protagonist in their own story, right? And if you have a large cast of characters like a George Martin novel, that can become difficult to manage. uh, and if you don't have enough characters, your story feels sparse and unpopulated. So yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. When I say I more towards discovery writing, as in being more comfortable with not knowing exactly where I want to go. Yesterday we were talking about the concept of plot islands and having sort of the main beats of your story figured out and then writing your way from island to island to island, plot wise. My plot I have reasonably figured out. My characters, not so much this time. So what's your story, Kit Falbo? Um, you're a writer, I assume. What are you writing? What are you doing Nano this year? Introduce yourself, if you like. I realize that sounds kind of imperative. Introduce yourself. No, if you'd like to, by all means, introduce yourself. Everybody say hi. Hi. Crafting of chess novel. Crafting of chess. Do tell. Do you have a back of book blurb or some sort of a an elevator pitch or synopsis that you could share? I know Bobicus is writing something involving witchery and blood curses and externally enforced insomnia, something like that. I'm writing a parallel world. I call it a faux Victorian fey detective novel. So it's sort of like it's got elements of like the hard-boiled noir detective novel with sort of a magical overlay on a Victorian feel, as yet unnamed city that might or might not be based on London. Lit RPG. Nate wants more to life than moving from town to town, hustling chess with his con man grandfather. Okay. He opens up the chance to bring in a steady pinch. Ah, okay. Now, by RPG, we mean role-playing game? I've not seen the term lit RPG before. I'm assuming lit means literary and not like lit AF, yo. Just playing. Lit RPG. Isn't the internet wonderful? Literary role-playing game. Okay, yeah. That's what I figured. So, how does a lit RPG work then? Or RPG in novel form? Is it a novel based on like a okay? So now are they? I guess my question would be then like, would those elements then be an explicit part of the narrative? Like you have characters failing saving throws and rolling for initiative, or that sort of thing, or is it just behind the scenes sort of? Okay, all right, yeah, interesting. There was a here in China where I live. There's a series of crunchy is probably the right word for that. Yeah, some are crunchy, some are smooth. Saw a meme yesterday, image of a wizard with the text read, I did not ask how large the room is. I said, I cast fireball. There's a franchise of sort of writers groups here called Inkwell. Um, okay, well that makes sense then. That I can see how that would work. I was bringing up the Inkwell thing because they ran an online seminar a couple days ago on writing randomly using the I Ching or using I think it was dice as a tool while writing to I don't know, either change plot points or generate plot points or generate character traits, presumably. That would be discovery writing, would it not? Okay, next scene, Book of Changes. Which hexagram am I dealing with in this scene? Interesting idea. I have in the past experimented with stuff like that. Like I said, my fairy tale randomizer. Oh, there they are. Also, fool that I am, have played around with writing stories that are driven slightly by these babies. I've never been wholly satisfied with the results of that, though. I guess I'm too much of a control freak. Oh, 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 this card box doesn't work very well. It's eating my cards. My cat's breath smells like cat food. Yeah. Oh, I don't. I don't know. I've got stuff that I've written in the past that I'm satisfied with. I mean, yes, it could be better. It could be improved, but I'm satisfied with it. Yeah, deck of many things. That's where I remember that from. Yeah. Um. Yeah, that would same idea. Same idea. That twig to memory. Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I build a story, and I do, um, when I'm crafting a story. I mean, if you were building a chair, making a cabinet, doing some carpentry, you wouldn't just randomly add a piece of lumber and then try and work it in. I mean, well, you could, and it might be interesting to do, but you wouldn't end up with an elegant piece of furniture at the end of it, probably. When you grow up, you want to be a caterpillar. There'll be more growing up to do after that. Read something a while back that was informing me that during the chrysalis stage, the caterpillar effectively dissolves itself completely within the chrysalis before reforming as a butterfly. Um, Ew, I wouldn't want to be a caterpillar. When you said deck of many things, I have to look this up now because a friend of mine has a small tabletop gaming related company, and they have a similar kind of a thing, cross system deck of many things, effectively, but I can't remember what they've called it. Let me look it up. Maybe they did call it a deck of many things. Do 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 boo do do. Whoop. No, I don't want my... There we go. Found it. Yes, please. Okay. The Mobius Deck of Wonders is what they've called it, but it's basically a deck of many things. A deck of cards that a DM can use to add toys and MacGuffins and things into the game. Add complexity, stuff like that. So, yeah. She is the butterfly effect. I see what you did there. I still say you should have her travel back and stop someone else from killing baby Hitler. That would be a good thing for a time traveling supervillain to do. Slurping my coffee. All right. Do. I'm glad I could help. The thinking being that every good guy who gets their hands on time travel thinks about traveling back in time and killing Hitler. And of course, the easiest way to do that would be to kill baby Hitler. But yeah, the bad guy would probably try and stop them. I think College Humor did a bit on that at one point. So, yeah, like I said earlier today, this stream is all about me trying to write well. A bunch of people distract me. Oh, okay. I've left this paragraph in deep jeopardy. But is killing baby Hitler bad if it prevents the deaths of millions and millions of people? I guess it depends on your views on ethics and morality. So if I'm a good guy with time travel, I should go back and make sure Hitler gets into art school. Okay. Yeah, this is a broken paragraph that I was in the middle of rewriting. So you're a determinist, are you? All right. I wonder. I know that Nazi Germany was a hotbed for scientific advancement, but one has to think that certain things would have been figured out eventually anyway. I hope. Well, it's your book. Uh-huh. Yeah, tell me about it. The noise to signal ratio in publishing right now is disgusting. Getting anyone to even know your book exists is damn near impossible these days. I had a small e-publishing company. Well, I still do technically, but rather defunct at the moment. We haven't published anything in about 5 or 6 years, but we specialized in collaborative anthologies. Made some pretty good stuff. I was quite happy with. Well, I was quite happy with two of the three books we published, and I was acceptably happy with the third. We made three anthologies over about a year and a half, and that the third one that I'm not as happy with for reasons, but whatever, um, sold fewer copies than the number of contributors so far. It was published like 8 years ago. I've lost track of time, but yeah, fewer copies than the number of contributors. So I couldn't even get, in that particular book, I couldn't get most of the contributors to even post anything on their social media about the book being out and available. It was ridiculous. Yep. So, how is Frank and Beans doing? Frank is having trouble getting through this conversation. I blame all of you. Uh, let me see. No, I don't want to say that there. I want to have David give him, and therefore us and the reader, some basic information about this drug dust. Do, 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 do. Brightly colored powder. They are cheaper, yeah. Um, my research, I have no idea how accurate it is. I haven't put it to the test yet. Is that the key choices are really between Facebook ads or Google search ads, and the general sort of guidelines for those two is that Facebook ads are good for generating buzz, for getting people. Facebook is full of people that want to talk about stuff, whereas Google search is full of people who are looking for stuff. So if you if you want to generate buzz and awareness, start a conversation, as they say in the marketing world, Facebook is your place. If you want to convert sales, then Google search ads are the best choice. Again, I have no idea how accurate that analysis is. I haven't put it to the test. I've had reasonably good luck with Facebook ads, marketing my online writing course on Skillshare and Udemy, mostly on Skillshare. Udemy is a bit of a tougher sell, I think. But yeah, I do intend to when I manage to carve out the time, I'm going to go through the Google's Google Ads training stuff, figure out some of the tools, and then do some testing of the platform and see how that goes. Yeah, you got to spend money to make money, right? I didn't back in the day with the publishing company I was referring to with the anthologies. I didn't market particularly aggressively. I did do the odd Facebook ad. Um, didn't amount to much of anything. Apparently, nobody really wants to read anthologies. That's fine. That whole thing was more of an. Oh, you're on Skillshare, are you? Yeah, I have a writing course on Skillshare. It's primarily nonfiction, and it's aimed at creatives who need to generate their own like website copy or emails and newsletters and things like that. People who aren't writers. It's a standard sort of writing to an outline, how to generate an outline, that kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. The Anthology Club, which is the name, I guess. I should stop referring to it in the past tense. I might resurrect it again one of these days. But it was basically an experiment in collectivist publishing. So the setup was that um, we had a well a reasonable publishing agreement between members and the Anthology Club, um, which was basically a revenue share contract. Any member of the Anthology Club could propose an anthology and solicit submissions from other members. Um, the Anthology Club would pay for cover art and do all that stuff and marketing, and would therefore take a share equal to any of the contributors. The editor would take a slightly larger share because of the slightly larger workload. Well, there was an editing share and a um, contribution share. I'm trying to think how. Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. So if you were an editor and a contributor, you would get both of those shares. But basically, it was an equal distribution of whatever revenue came out of the book. So it was really just an experiment in collectivist publishing to see if a group of people could produce something of value, and I think we did. It was a lot of work, a lot of often very frustrating work. I suspect more so than the traditional publishing model, but a lot of personalities when you go that route. So largely why I don't care as much for one of the three books we produced. This is one of the books we produced, Soul of the Universe. Oh, it's reversed. I should unreverse my camera. Um, it's a collection of 6 stories by 4 authors, including one of mine, each inspired by a piece of music, popular or otherwise. Cover art by Kit Cooper, my favorite cover art artist. So we also did an anthology of pirate themed stories. No genre limits or anything, as long as it was somehow tied to Age of Sail style piracy. A lot of ghosts and supernaturally stuff going on in there as well. And the other was a sci-fi collection of stories that all took place within this gigantic spaceship called the Ten Leg. It was a big enough spaceship, sort of like the Thistledown from Greg Bear's Eon and Eternity, a large hollowed out asteroidy kind of. That's the feeling I had for it anyway. It lacked a bit of direction, but basically you could do whatever you wanted for setting within the confines of this spaceship. There were no real limits. So there was a threaded narrative that went through all of the stories in that one, but yeah, I don't remember Kickstarter being as much of a thing when I was doing it as it is now. But that's definitely an option. I know of, individual authors writing individual novels that are doing Kickstarters as well. I've heard of that happening. Yeah, might also put some pressure on the writer to actually finish the damn thing too, which never hurts. But well, I'll tell you what. I was planning on only being on for an hour and then wandering off to do some other things, but this is fun, so I think I'm going to stick around for another little while. I am going to go and top up my coffee though, so I'll be back in a moment. Continue to chat amongst yourselves. And we're back. Yeah, thanks. I like the hummingbird too. I've got I use a stock story blocks. I think it's called stock image and stock audio and video site that I use for media production. Hey, Chooter, are you an active Chooter? How's it going? Welcome to the chat. Ah, okay. Well, say hi, everyone. Hi. Introduce yourself if you like. I, you distracting people, am going to get back to that bloody sentence. Actually, paragraph, conversation, discussion, dialogue, whatever. You know what I'm doing. Okay. Hey, 20K. Not bad. I think I just broke 8. I'm not doing so well. 20K, actually, 20K is almost on pace. Progress is progress. This is true. My 8K that I've managed is more than I've ever managed before during a nano. So, what are you writing? What's your story? Okay. Cool, cool. Got a few fantasy people here. Mine's I don't know what to call it. It's a detective novel with magic and demons and monsters and stuff. Oh, I guess I'd do that. This is the cover that I made the other day. The working title is Bloodlines. I'm not sure if I'll probably keep it because I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know if I'll keep the cover, but yeah. The skull, the issue for me. I mean, the cover. I like the cover. The cover's cool. I like it. I'm happy with it. It's playing around with overlaying textures on images, and I like what happened. But the skull has nothing at all to do with the story, at all, other than it sort of invokes death and I don't know. It's growing on me as an actual cover for this book. The more I look at it, but all right. Okay. I mean, it's the oldest trick in the book, but having one of my having one of my characters know nothing about the thing and having another character explain it to him. Yeah, I know. But Yeah, I know. It's it's not being forced, I don't think, in this case. Frank Berg, Detective Inspector Frank Berg. He's a homicide detective primarily. He works murder cases. Um, so he probably would know about dust, certainly that it exists and that it's a drug and whatever, but he wouldn't know very much about it. It's not really his thing. And from a personal perspective, it's very much not his thing. So, no, no, they do not. Frank Berg is a name he took upon himself after rejecting his nobleman father. Um, he's illegitimate. His mother died in poverty. He blames his father for her rejection, etc. Um, he was recognized by his nobleman father, but he has once he found out what happened to his mother, he rejected his whole family and changed his name to Frank Berg. No, it's fine. It's fine. Um, I've been thinking of him as a kind of lettuce, actually, in the back of my head, iceberg lettuce. Um, so no, you're not alone there. Not alone. Um, yeah, his actual name is Franklin d'Auberge. There's a handful of middle names that I haven't bothered to give him yet in the middle of that, but Franklin something 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 d'Auberge. He calls himself Frank Berg. Everyone knows who he is, of course, and knows of his connections, and he's trying to separate himself from his origins, but people being people, that's not always easy to do. Um, hmm. So yeah, no, he doesn't really know how drugs are bought or sold or any of that stuff. It's not really his thing. Uh, it, da, 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 doo, 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 buddy doo. Now here's the issue. How is it that nobody has made the connection between dust residue in the victims' bodies and the moths hunting through hallucinogenic uh, chemicals that they emit? I mean, any toxicologist, even an early version, Victorian version of a toxicologist, would probably, on detecting dust residue in a corpse that was in all the corpses that have been killed by moths, would probably make the connection that the residue is from the moth, the way that the moth hunts. Dust is derived from the moths. That's sort of what's going on in this story. That's the conspiracy underneath all these killings. Um, but how would they? Okay, well I can't. Stupor. Woo! Huzzah. So, yeah, I realized last night, I always have these ideas as I'm like passing out tired on my way to bed, and I realize things like, oh, I've never explained to the reader in any way, shape, or form what this dust is or what it does or anything, which needs to happen at some point. And this scene where he's talking to the vice dude would be the best option for that. So I had to kind of shoehorn that. Not shoehorn. I hope I didn't shoehorn it in. I hope it flows naturally now. But I had to make it fit. So there we go. That's done. Still no new words today. 2 hours of streaming and no new words. Well, no new scenes. There's some new words. All right. Huh. Need to make some more decisions before I dive in. At this point, the idea is to have Frank track down like a street pusher, someone who's dealing on a street corner somewhere, and then sort of work his way up the distribution chain. See, I was very satisfied with myself with how clever I am the other day when I realized that he should jump to a wrong conclusion. which I didn't have him doing initially. It was sort of a straight line through the puzzle, which is boring, and that was the issue. So I had him jump to the wrong conclusion, that completely missing the idea that maybe moths and dust are connected in a sort of a more functional way, and that the people who are producing the dust are also killing people with moths, feeding their moths effectively. So what is that? Oh, random things on my desk that I don't remember putting there have been pushed under my little shelvy things. Anyway, yeah. So climb the ladder. All right. Hmm. It's not so much the writing that leaves me exhausted on my way to bed. It's the whole day. I also don't tend to go to bed until 2 or 3 in the morning. 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night this past little while, which isn't healthy. Writing is tiring. It's work. It's mental work, but it's work. It takes focus and concentration and juggling a lot of different threads and ideas in your head. No, it's work. It's tiring. It takes energy. This is something I try and get my students to understand deep in the core of their beings, is that mental work is work. It falls on deaf ears a lot, though. I teach Chinese students, and they have a work ethic that's unheard of in the Western world. Hey, Zedcore, welcome back. Say hi, we've got some new people. Yeah, the Chinese students' work ethic is beyond the pale. They start at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and they go until 9:30 in the evening. This is in middle school. This is like 12-year-olds. Basically, they've got from 6:30 to 7, it's study hall, finishing up last minute homework they didn't do the day before, that kind of stuff. Then it's breakfast for, they have half an hour for breakfast or so. Then classes start, and they're in classes until lunch from 11 till 1, so they do get a long lunch. And then classes all afternoon till supper, hour to 2 hours for supper, and then it's evening study hall for generally 3 hours where they do homework, and they have enough homework to fill 3 hours every day, no problem. Rinse, repeat. A lot of the schools here, middle schools, are boarding schools, so they live at the school. Hence the evening, they call it self-study time, but it's effectively just homework slog. The kids that don't go to a boarding school go home, but they end up going to evening classes every day. Most of my students would, the ones that live at home or stay at home, would go to bed at 11 or 12 every night, up at 6. They're exhausted most of the time. So yeah, telling them that mental work is work and they should take breaks and pace themselves, it doesn't go over. Even if they would love to, their parents won't let them, most of them. But yeah, mental work is work. It takes energy. All right, so what are my goals for this? At least I can figure that out right now. So I want atmosphere. This is where the noir really kind of comes in. It's going to be foggy and wet and rainy and miserable and cold, and there's got to be a jazz saxophone somewhere in the background. Something like that. Uh, Okay. I'm just stalling basically with that idea. Mm. How did I end that last scene? That was... Yeah, there we go. Nice. Them on his own. I use that a lot, unfortunately. It turned out that. So how's he going to solve this problem? Well, the other thing I want to look up quickly while I'm here is Victorian England curse words. Hmm. One of my favorite things about Google searches these days is the people also ask section. I spend a lot of time in there. So I do a search for Victorian England curse words, and the first option people also ask is, did people swear in Victorian England? You better believe it. Yeah, people have always used bad words. Perhaps more accurately, there have always been words that some people don't want you to use. Actually, no. Funnily enough, no. Logic dictates that nobody in their right mind is going to talk to him about this stuff, so he's better off just stopping and moving on with his life. No, he's not going to solve it with logic. He's going to solve it with brute force and violence. Actually, he's going to solve it by holding some scrawny little drug pusher up against a brick wall in an alleyway and threatening to tear off his legs. And that's why I need to look for some Victorian English curse words. I've got that tableau in my head. I've got an image of where we're getting to in this scene. The job now is to get there. La-di-da. How would Frank solve? Frank, yeah. Frank wants to think of himself as a rational person, but he's really more force of nature in a lot of respects. That simmering rage at the core of his person is there for a reason. People who sell illegal drugs are a bit shy when it comes to talking to police inspectors about how their business operates. When it comes to let's see, rights with random. Love that word. Of course, the dictionary doesn't know. Scarpered. Make sure I'm spelling it right. Yeah, to scarper. In it. They scarpered, isn't it? Scarpered. To depart suddenly. To flee. Yeah, that's maybe a bit too Cockney for Frank's point of view, but ran away at the sight of him and a few laughed in his face. It was one of the latter. He was talking to now. Will not be the right word. I acknowledge that I'm going to have to completely revamp this later when I edit. The tone is wrong. The voice is wrong. It's not. I was chatting with one of my writer groups last night about this. It's taking me longer than usual to find my narrative voice with this story, and I'm not sure how to fix that, but I've invented a road. I feel so powerful. Trying to think where the drugs would be sold and to whom, and you got to think the working class, the harbor workers, the ship crew, yeah, the docks, the wharf, the harbor. That's got to be a prime location. There. Hmm. Yeah, we'll expand a bit there. All right. Working his way up. Bottom. Right. Reasoned. There you go. Thanks, Silent Author 1942. He's using reason. He's using logic. The bottom, Frank reasoned. Most likely to be found is where most to command. Drugs, not so much. Drugs were unnecessary. Yeah, there's a peculiar, particular socioeconomic strata that are likely to do illegal drugs this way, especially in a sort of a Victorian England environment where a lot of narcotics are perfectly legal, but likely more expensive. So if you want to do opium or cocaine or something like that, you can get them at the pharmacy, at the chemist's versions of them. The Victorians were off their hoops a lot of the time. There was an opium-based cordial that was given to babies in Victorian England as a pacifier, as a way of quietening them down. Dude, or is it morphine? Morphine-based. Well, morphine is an opiate. Yeah. Anyway, lots of drugs back then. Very little regulation. Uh, You know, I'm kind of summarizing a bit more than I want to here. I don't want to be stuck in narration mode quite as much as I am. I'd rather be in the action, and I'm kind of not. Ah. Hmm. 2:30. It's about noon here. You know what, folks? I think I'm gonna walk away from this for a little while and give it some space, and then come back and see how I want to tackle it. It's a bit too much like a summary of the action for me at the moment, rather than a story, the way I want the story to be here. Okay, so yeah, I think I am going to do that. I'm going to go grab some lunch, and yeah, what day of the week is it today? I don't know what day of the week it is. It's Thursday. All right. Well, it is noon on Thursday here in China. I'm not sure what time of the day it is where you are, but either way, I think I'm off for today. So, thanks guys for joining me. I see some of us have already left as I start my wind down. Thanks for joining me, to the new followers, tutor, and oh no, I didn't put the in front of the Krishichu, Krishichu, the Krishichu. Yeah. Anyway, Chris, thanks for joining up. Thanks for following, and welcome to the group, such as it is. I know you're still here, silent author. Consistent. I'm showing 3 people still here, but we had 5 or 6, so had a few people leave as I started. Anyway, I'm off. I'm going. I'm hungry, really hungry actually, which is messing with my concentration. So yeah, if you joined us live on the stream, good to see you. Thanks for popping in the chat and saying hi. If you're watching on the afterwards video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you can get an alert when I go live, and join us next time in the chat. We'd love to have you. If you're watching this on YouTube, hey, welcome to the YouTubes. Don't forget to do the stuff down there and like and subscribe, or dislike and subscribe, and ring the bell, or ring the bell once, or ring the bell 3 times. Your choice. Yeah. And either way, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.